I think Apple make amazing computers, and in general, Macs just work the way that you want them to, but there are definitely some things about them that I don't like. Files opening automatically, screenshots with padded backgrounds, trying to find literally anything in system settings, to name just a few. Thankfully, there are easy fixes for all of these things, and I'm going to show you 10 of them in this video. Okay, let's get into it. Your iPhone has the ability to automatically correct your spelling, and on a device like the iPhone, this makes a lot of sense. But chances are, if you're working on a Mac, you're using a full-size keyboard, and the chances of you making mistakes are much slimmer. So it's really annoying when your computer decides to automatically change what you've written to what it thinks you should write instead. Thankfully, you can disable this. Open System Settings and choose Keyboard. In the text input section where you can see the language that you've selected, there is an Edit button. Tap on this and disable correct spelling automatically. Using the scroll wheel on a mouse on an external display attached to your Mac is far more difficult than it should be. For some reason, the natural scrolling function can often be enabled on your main computer, but then randomly disables on your external display, making using your displays really confusing. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a fix for this issue, but there is a free application called Moz that does fix this. Once downloaded, you can set the natural scrolling per display. I personally use Moz on all of my Macs, and it's the only way that I've been able to get my Logitech mouse to work perfectly with both of the external displays that I use. And again, quick reminder, the app is free, and I'll link to it in the description of this video. The delete button on the Mac is annoying because essentially it's not a delete button, it's a backspace button. But if you've used a PC, you'll probably want to use it in the same way that you use the delete button. Luckily, there are a couple of hacks that you can use to make it work the way that you would like it to. So you already know that if you're using the backspace button to delete text, pressing it makes the cursor delete text backwards. If you'd like to delete text moving forward, hold the function key while pressing the backspace button. This will make the backspace button function in the same way that the delete button does on a PC. The other thing that I often see Mac owners wanting to do with the backspace button is use it to delete files and folders in Finder. However, you'll know that if you select a file and tap the backspace button, nothing happens. That is, unless you hold the command button when you press the backspace button. Doing this performs the same function as dragging a file or folder to the bin. By the way, if you prefer to have content like this in a written format, there's a PDF version of this video complete with screenshots, and you can access it along with all other PDFs I've created, plus future ones, for just $5 a month. You can either scan the QR code that you can see on screen, or follow the link in the description of this video to learn more. A setting that's enabled by default in macOS is to automatically open what Apple refers to as safe files. This is when you download an image or a document or a video or audio file, and it immediately opens on your computer, even though you may not have wanted it to open. I much prefer the idea of opening files when I'm ready, rather than having them automatically open. Fortunately, there is a setting that you can enable to stop this from happening. Open Safari and go to Settings. Make sure you're on the General tab. At the bottom of the screen, you'll find an option called Open Safe Files after downloading. By default, this option is most likely enabled, so uncheck the box to disable it. From now on, any files that you download will be saved to your computer and will only open when you choose to open them. Also, here's a random little tip. If you want to quickly access the settings of any app on your Mac, you can use a keyboard shortcut. Simply press Command and the comma button together to open the settings page of the current app. For reasons that I've never really understood, when you take a screenshot on your Mac, the computer automatically adds some background padding to it. I think this is done because Apple thinks that aesthetically it looks better when you're dropping the screenshot into a word processing document, but for me, I would prefer to just have the clean screenshot and add a background myself if I want to. There is a way to do this when taking a screenshot. So let's say, for example, that I've pressed Command, Shift, and 5 on my keyboard, and I've selected Capture Selected Window. If I click on a window, a screenshot will be taken complete with a padding background. But if instead I hold the Option key on my keyboard before I click on the window, a screenshot will be taken without the padding background. So this instantly solves the problem. But what if you feel that you never want the padding background and you'd like a more permanent solution? Follow these steps. Open Terminal by pressing Command and Spacebar on your computer and typing Terminal into Spotlight Search. In the terminal window that appears, copy and paste the command from the description of this video into the terminal window that I'll also show you on screen now and hit Enter. copy and paste the second command, which you can also see on the screen now and is also available in the description of this video. Press enter. Quit terminal. This is a permanent solution to the problem, and any screenshots that you take moving forward will not have the background padding. If you want to add it back at a later date, repeat the terminal process, but in the first command that you pasted, replace the word true with the word false. The trackpads on Macs are the best in the computer world, in my opinion, but one of the most annoying parts about them is the clicking sound they make when you select anything. I totally understand that some people like this, but personally I hate it, and I disable it using a feature called tap to click. To enable this, open System Settings, and on a computer with a trackpad, you'll find the option to select Trackpad. At the bottom of this window, enable tap to click. You can still push harder to have a more forceful click sound on your trackpad if you like, but you'll also notice that now you only need to give the lightest of taps instead to select something. Sticking with the trackpad for a moment, there is another feature that I would recommend that you try out called 3-finger drag. The trackpads on Macs are awesome, but if you have to drag windows or folders around the screen frequently, there is an easier method than the standard way of doing things. The option is hidden away in the menus though, so I reckon most people don't know about it. Open Settings and choose Accessibility. Select Pointer Control, then Trackpad Options. Enable the Use Trackpad for Dragging toggle, and in the option below called Dragging Style, choose 3-finger drag. Now, if you move your cursor to the top of a window, for example, you can use 3 fingers on your trackpad to easily move that window around. It is, of course, a matter of personal preference as to whether or not you like this, but I personally find it much easier than the standard method of dragging things on the Mac. By the way, if you're enjoying the content here, why not consider signing up to my free newsletter, The Proper Weekly, which you can do via the link in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on screen now. The newsletter goes out each Friday, and I include some tech news from the week, a behind the scenes of what's happening here on the channel, as well as a tip for an item in the Apple ecosystem. System settings on the Mac is quite frankly a mess, and has gotten worse rather than better with recent macOS updates. Trying to find the part of system settings that you're looking for can be an absolute nightmare, but there is an easy fix for this, and it's right under your nose. Instead of clicking to open system settings in the dock, right-click on it instead. This gives you all of the different parts of system settings in alphabetical order, which makes it much easier to find things, in my opinion, than the regular system settings view. Following on from the previous point about system settings being a bit of a nightmare to navigate around, there is another option as well, and that's to use Spotlight Search. So if I take the previous example of enabling 3-finger drag, which was hidden away in the accessibility menu, I could simply tap Command and Spacebar on my keyboard and then type Trackpad Options. You can see that the result appears immediately in Spotlight Search with the settings icon to the right of it showing me that I've got the correct match. Simply hit Enter on your keyboard to be taken right to that particular page of settings. There's nothing more annoying than accidentally closing Safari when you have a bunch of tabs open, because when you reopen Safari, it will open on a start page and you'll have to remember which tabs you had open. However, if you press Command, Shift and T, your Mac will reopen the last tabs open in your Safari history, saving the day. So there you go, 10 things that annoy me about the Mac operating system and the ways that you can change them. What do you think? Anything that should have been included? Oh, and I've got another video almost ready to go with 10 more, so keep an eye out for that. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.